The ballots have been turned in. The votes have been tallied, and C.J. Stroud is a finalist to win this year's Heisman Trophy.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Tuesday, December 6th in the year 2022, and today's episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks is a gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. Visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. During today's episode, we will discuss an announcement from Jaxon Smith-Njigba about his future in his career at the Ohio State University, and Ohio State needs to look for a new offensive coordinator because Kevin Wilson has a new job. But before we get to any of that, the Heisman finalists have been announced, and Ohio State's QB1 for the past 2 years, for the second time, has been named a Heisman finalist. Stroud is among the names of some really elite players, some really talented individuals are named finalists for this year's award. There are 4. Now, they go 1, 2, 3. Sometimes for the hoopla and for the drama, they add a 4th. You can only vote for 3 when you submit your ballot. Sometimes they have 4. I think 1 year was Justin Fields and Chase Young. Believe that was the year. And there were 4 people there. Sometimes it happens. Drama, trying to get somebody else to be there in New York. Those things happen all the time. So Stroud being in this group is amazing. For him to be a 2-time finalist for the most prestigious award in the sport, it's an astonishing thing. The other finalists that were announced by the Heisman Trust: Max Duggan, quarterback at TCU. I don't know why I wanted to say a different school name. Stetson Bennett, quarterback at Georgia, who the Buckeyes will be facing in the Peach Bowl very, very soon. And then quarterback at USC, Caleb Williams, who is an amazing, amazing talent. Some notable guys that were not mentioned or listed as finalists: Hendon Hooker, quarterback at Tennessee, amazing talent, future NFL quarterback. Blake Corum from Michigan, the Wolverines running back. Now, granted, Hooker and Corum, they're both out for the year, but that should not factor in them not being Heisman finalists because they are really good. Another one this is the one that really shocked me more than Corum and Hendon Hooker, but Bijan Robinson on the season. His numbers are crazy. Over 1,500 yards rushing on the year, averaging 6.1 yards a pop, 18 touchdowns. But he had over 100 rushing yards in 9 games this year. That's correct. 9 of the 12 games he played had over 100 rushing yards, had 2 games of over 200 rushing yards, 209 against Kansas State, and then 243 against Kansas. He must own the state of Kansas because both those games were played in the state of Kansas when he went for over 200 on the ground in both of those games. C.J. Stroud, he is a finalist. Robinson is not. So for Stroud to be I am still amazed at what Stroud is able to do as a quarterback. I am amazed at what we see from Stroud week in and week out. Yes, you guys might hear Jay say things about Stroud that may make you think Stroud is not a good quarterback. No, Stroud is clearly one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and he clearly deserves to be in this conversation. There are so many awards in college football, from the Biletnikoff, the best wide receiver in the country, to the Chud Bednarik Award, Davey O'Brien Award, the Maxwell Award, which is an outstanding award, a most valuable player award. but it's not the most prestigious one because that goes to the Heisman Trophy. You also have the Thorpe Award, the Doak Walker Award. The Doak Walker goes to the top running back in the country, the Remington Award, the Home Depot Coach of the Year Award, the Buckeyes Award, the Warfel. I always have to slow that down. Broyles. There's so many awards in college football. And if you're a player that is named a finalist or even a semifinalist in the middle of the season for any of these awards, you're doing something right. But when you add in you're a finalist for the Heisman, buddy, it hits different. And for Stroud to be a finalist, not a one-time, but a two-time, that's saying, one, he's a phenomenal football player, but two, there's a level of consistency with his play in the season. C.J. Stroud threw for over 3,000 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, 6 INTs, average 66.2 on the completion percentage. Stroud is a quarterback that I believe almost every school in the country would want as their QB1. Now, granted, if you have a Hendon Hooker or you have a Caleb Williams or you have you're splitting hairs, but you might say, I want Caleb Williams over C.J. Stroud, or I want Hendon Hooker over C.J. Stroud, or I want Bryce Young over Stroud. Okay, cool. You could be in that conversation. But I can't tell you if there's 5 schools in the country that will say, I want my quarterback over Stroud. I don't think that at all. That says one about how good Stroud is, how elite he is, how good he is on the field. I mean, we marvel at some of the throws that Stroud makes throughout the season, saying, "Ooh, how did he do that?" Or, "Oh, wow, that is amazing." And on the football field, Stroud was clearly QB1 once he got on the field last year. He was clearly QB1 at Ohio State this year. I said before the season that I think C.J. Stroud will win the Heisman Trophy. We'll hear more about my thoughts later in the week as we get closer to that announcement where Stroud will be announced, or will he not be announced as the Heisman Trophy winner. I will share more of my thoughts throughout the week about Stroud in the Heisman race. A level of consistency, a level of elite play for back-to-back years. Buckeye fans should be happy and fortunate. They have had Stroud for 2 years after 2 years of Justin Fields, but also recognize how rare and how special of a talent C.J. Stroud is. I'm glad it's QB1 at Ohio State. I'm also excited, and we'll discuss more about my excitement about Stroud possibly winning the Heisman Trophy. Now, the ballots have already been tallied. They know who won, but you know they're going to carry this thing out for a week for the ceremony later this weekend, I believe on Saturday, to see if Stroud won that very thing. In the comments section, let me know. Do you think Stroud should win this year's Heisman Trophy? Yes or no? Say what you think. And then also leave a little comment explaining why you think what you do. There's a player in the preseason, Jaxon Smith-Njigba. Some said he should be in the running for the Heisman Trophy. Unfortunately, injuries got in the way, and there was an announcement that some might not like about his future as a Buckeye. We will discuss that next right here on Locked on Buckeyes. This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. The holidays are here. Achieve gifting greatness when you gift the gift of perfectly aged, tender, and delicious Omaha Steaks. The steak experts at Omaha Steaks have put together special curated gift packages to help take the guesswork out of gifting and make you a holiday hero. Go to omahasteaks.com and use promo code LOCKEDON at checkout to get $30 off your order. Send in an assortment of mouth-watering favorites guaranteed to impress, like the legendary Butcher's Cut filet mignon, air-chilled boneless chicken, ultra-juicy burgers, and even easy-to-prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. Omaha Steaks is ready to ship your order right away. So shop early and beat the shipping rush. Omaha Steaks is a great gift from the heart, a gift that will be remembered with every unforgettable bite. Order with complete confidence today, knowing you're ordering the very best. visit omahasteaks.com. Use promo code locked on at checkout to get that extra $30 off your order. Minimum order may be required. CJ Stroud being a Heisman finalist back-to-back seasons is amazing. Prior to the season, I was on maybe the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. I know Locked On, we did a Heisman show, and they talked about how Stroud was going to be in the running for the Heisman, and Jaxon Smith-Njigba had his chance and had the possibility of being a wide receiver in the Heisman Trophy conversation as well. Well, a day ago, Njigba announced that his career at Ohio State would be over. He will not be playing in the Peach Bowl in any playoff game, not just the Peach Bowl. If the Buckeyes go to the Natty, he won't be playing there as well. And ultimately, in a note that he wrote, he said, after consulting with his doctors, not word for word, but this is what happened. After consulting and talking with his doctors, they felt that it was best for him to not play football again at Ohio State and prepare for his dream of playing in the National Football League. You remember me saying, ooh, this is around the time when they said he was going to get a second opinion about his injury. Now, sometimes second opinions happen. That's nothing crazy. But for them to say second opinion and have the thought that he has not been around the team for a while, that kind of startled me and kind of showed me that he might not play football ever again for Ohio State. His 1 year, 1 full season of playing football was one we will all remember. 13 games a year ago, the 13th game coming in the Rose Bowl, 95 receptions. Went into that game with 80 receptions. Yeah, that's how. Yeah, that boy went off. 95 receptions, 1,606 receiving yards, 9 touchdowns a year ago. He averaged 16.9 yards per reception during that season. Now, remember his first touchdown against Nebraska, the 2020 season during COVID, and people were like, whoa, who is this guy? He burst onto the scene in that season. Well, he was a freshman, 1, and then 2, he had 10 catches for 49 yards and 1 touchdown, so he didn't really burst on the scene. That's a talking point. You can put the video out there on the socials, and you might get some clicks, but the correct definition is he did not burst onto the scene. He literally and make a name for himself in his freshman year. He literally made an amazing catch, and people said, "Oh, people were just making all these wild statements about him." No, he didn't burst into the scene until a year ago, and ultimately we saw what he could really do against Nebraska when Garrett Wilson did not play. And Njigba has 15 catches, over 200 receiving yards, and that was like, whoa. And we know Njigba's good, but he that dude with the ball in his hands, y'all. He that dude with the routes. He that dude for Stroud. He is that dude. This year only played 3 games, 5 receptions, 43 receiving yards, no touchdowns. It's a weird year for him, the way that he went out and left college football, left Ohio State in the way that he did. With the injuries, let's keep that in context with the injuries that kept him off the field a lot. But sometimes that happens. This isn't the first time Buckeye fans, even in the past 10 years, have had to deal with their past 5 years. 2018 was not that long ago when Nick Bosa got hurt in the TCU game early in the year down in Dallas at AT&T Stadium, where Nick Bosa had a abdominal injury. Ultimately decided to go and prepare for the NFL draft and not return to play college football. That's the way things are right now in the world of college football, college sports. That's how things are. For Njigba, I think he will be remembered as having one of the best single seasons a receiver has ever had at Ohio State. The numbers are great. But I remember his stride in numerous games, the Nebraska game and the Rose Bowl being some of them, an amazing catch that he made against Indiana last season. I was there with my family, and I was sitting here. I had the back view of the throw, and so I saw Stroud. I saw the window. I saw Njigba. I'm like, that's a bad throw. Amazing catch, but maybe that just showed about the trust that Stroud had in Njigba, that even when it's triple coverage and your boy had to emerge out of nowhere to catch the ball, that ball was there. Njigba is really, really, really talented. Great hands, good with routes, not the fastest receiver. Let's keep it in context once again. Not the fastest receiver, but a receiver that knows how to kick in the jets, has football speed, and can get to the end zone. And he's going to be somebody that once he's fully healthy, he's over the hamstring injury and all the setbacks, the NFL teams, I do believe, will want on their football team. Is he a first-round pick? Is he a second-round pick? Ultimately, that's TBD, to be determined. I don't know where he's going to be. I know right now he's a slot receiver, and if I'm taking a first-round receiver, you're probably taking a player that is an outside guy, more of an X type of receiver. I don't think Njigba is that, and especially with the hamstring, the medicals. I hope the medicals check out at the combine. I'm sure he'll get an invite, but I hope the medicals check out, especially with these the tour that he's going to go on, going around to different teams and going to their facilities, interviewing for a job in the National Football League. I hope everything checks out because hamstring injuries are tricky, extremely tricky. You don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this. Ohio State fans, this thing will happen with them. I can speak for a lot of you. I know not all of you will be like this, but I can speak for some of you right now. You will remember Jaxon Smith-Njigba in the 2021 season and realize if it was not for him in the Rose Bowl, Ohio State could have easily had 3 losses on the season. The loss against Oregon, the loss against the team up north, and the loss against Utah in the Rose Bowl. Him, along with the defense being inspired in the second half, it was a close game, but Stroud realized, what am I waiting for? Throw it to my guy. He can get open. Now, granted, he was being guarded by a running back because Utah needed to use a running back in that time period to put somebody else on defense due to injury. It happens, unfortunately. Those type of things happen. But those two players together did what was needed to lead the Buckeyes and pave the way for a Buckeyes Rose Bowl win. I think to me, the most important game that I saw him play was the Nebraska game a year ago. The Rose Bowl is great. It's my favorite bowl, partly because it's in Pasadena. The backdrop, the setting, the timing, the sun going down, all of those things are perfect. But ultimately, it was that Nebraska game a year ago. At a time when Ohio State needed something. Offensively, things weren't going. Nebraska's talent on defense was exactly what your boy thought it was going to be. Offensively, it was Adrian Martinez away from actually winning the game, to be honest with you. But Njigba, man, Njigba did what was needed at a time when your first receiver on the team, on the depth chart, was not available. Njigba comes in, steps up, and does amazing things on the football field. His career at Ohio State's over. Preparing for the NFL draft is what's next for him. And ultimately, I do believe he's been doing that for quite a while because it's been a while since he has been around the team consistently. Hope the hamstring heals up. Hope he's ready for the NFL. I hope he's preparing for the NFL draft because everybody, including the doctors, are going to be checking that hamstring and his medicals to see how healthy he is. I hope the best for JSN, and I hope that he reps Ohio State proud every single day. I know someone else who's going to rep Ohio State proud in a different way. Maybe not loud, bold like we all do, got the Blocko flag behind me, but he will rep Ohio State. Remember what Ohio State did for him in his career. It's Kevin Wilson, because Ohio State is going to need to find a new offensive coordinator because KW has found a new job in college football. What job is it? We will discuss that next right here on Locked On Buckeyes. Can we pause the pod for a second? Okay, we're good. Great, because you got to try this. I'm talking about Built Bar's new reimagined flavors, cookie dough topper, coconut brownie bar, coconut brownie topper, white chocolate peppermint granola is Built take on the granola bar, so it's more filling and still insanely tasty. And candy cane brownie puff. Built Puffs are like biting into the universe's most delicious cloud. First off, for anyone who hasn't tried Built Bars before, they're literally the best tasting protein bars ever built. They're revolutionizing nutrition as we know it with 100% real chocolate, 17 grams of protein, and shockingly low sugar and calories. 130 calories to be exact. Just sink your teeth into the first bite and it'll change your life forever. I'm not kidding. There will be a time before you tried these new Built Bars flavors and the magical, wonderful time afterwards. You're probably wondering which new flavor is my favorite. An unanswerable question, to say the least. They're unbelievable and they're all different. So you can order a mixed box and try all five flavors for yourself. Go to built.com and use your friendly promo code LOCKEDON15 to save 15% on your next order. Once again, go to built.com and use that friendly promo code LOCKEDON15. That's LOCKEDON, the number 1 and the number 5 to get 15% off at built.com. Coming up later this week, there will be a Buckeye basketball game. The first Buckeye basketball game in the Big Ten is against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. A team that just beat the Indiana Hoosiers. So you know they're riding high. How will they play against the Buckeyes? Got to tune in Thursday night to see how the Buckeye basketball team, that's looking pretty well right now, does in their Big Ten opener in the 2022-2023 season. A lot of news on a Monday. So much news, we can't get into all of it today. We'll pick back up with this on tomorrow's show. But one thing that stuck out on Monday's news cycle around Ohio State is that Ohio State needs a new offensive coordinator. Now, many people knew that former offensive coordinator at Ohio State, Kevin Wilson, was going to be a highly sought-after man in the offseason. At 61 years old, and a man that's been around college football since, the 80s, you knew his track record in the sport, his time of coaching, being a head coach at Indiana from 2011 to 2016, almost pulling off an amazing upset of the Buckeyes in 2015, and how he built that Indiana program to be a lot better and more consistent than they were previously. Let's say that. They didn't have all the wins, but more consistent than they were previously. He also has a phenomenal offensive mind. He was at Oklahoma from 2002 to 2010. And you remember all the great players that Oklahoma had on the offense? They were coached by Kevin Wilson. And we remember how prolific that offense was. Kevin Wilson has recently taken the job and accepted the job as head coach at Tulsa. Now, Tulsa is one of those programs, the G5 program, which is probably the proper level for Kevin Wilson. I have been one previously that said I think he might be a longtime offensive coordinator, but every now and then, one, financially, it's more advantageous for you to go ahead and take that route and be a head coach in college football. But also, two, I wasn't sure if he wanted to go back into that field and do that. With the way the NIL is, with the way the transfer portal is, it's very hard for a guy who's been around since the 80s, when a lot of people that have played in the 80s or coached in the 80s don't like the way the sport is trending. Would it be better for him to just stick with the offense at Ohio State, get paid $1.2 million, or would it be better for him to go somewhere else? Well, ultimately, go somewhere else, get more money, get back into being a head coach was what's next for him. I think Kevin Wilson does not get the credit he deserves for how Ohio State's offense, especially the tight ends who he coaches, have played since he came to the program in 2017. Yes, he was a coach, one of those coaches that was retained by Ryan Day when he took over for Urban Meyer as offensive coordinator, as head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Kevin Wilson, to me, if you're talking about someone who could call plays in a great way and he has a great feel for the game, Kevin Wilson is that guy. I mean, you remember what happened a year ago in the Tulsa game? People were wondering, what is this? Is it the 3-3-5 defense? Is it their team? That's a talented team. They have some talent over there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm happy for Kevin Wilson. I'm genuinely happy for him. I think this is a good move for him. I think this might be the final time he goes and gets a new job. That's a head coaching job. I think he can even lead Tulsa to win the conference. I do think that as well. I think Kevin Wilson is going to bring some things he got from Bob Stoops and some things he got from Urban Meyer and from Ryan Day and some things he's been doing since the 80s when he began as a GA at North Carolina. I think he's going to take all those things, the nuances of today's game, the old school style and mindset that when he played the football and when he started coaching, take all that to Tulsa and let those players realize I ain't just going to come in and go with what everybody else is doing. I'm going to add my own flavor. We're going to do this thing together and strive to win every game that we play. Kevin Wilson will be missed at Ohio State. Some have speculated that his replacement might already be on Ohio State's coaching staff, offensive coaching staff right now. We'll discuss more about that tomorrow on tomorrow's show. But for right now, let's appreciate Kevin Wilson and his time as OC at Ohio State. Because one, it was rare. I didn't realize he had been around as long as he had for him to be retained and still have a job after Urban steps down as head coach at Ohio State and Ryan Day kept him. That says a lot about Kevin Wilson, his track record and what he means, what he brings to the table. But also the players. Never heard a bad word about Kevin Wilson, man. Not from when he was at Indiana or Oklahoma or even back in his playing days at North Carolina when he was a GA at North Carolina from 1984 to 1986. Never heard one bad word. And that's what I love about him. People genuinely like him and appreciate him and love what he does on the football field as a coach. Great offensive mind. Looking forward to seeing that phenomenal offensive mind go to work next year as the head coach of Tulsa. Guys, we're out of here on this Tuesday. I hope you're enjoying the day. I know it's getting a little cooler outside. I'm not a big fan of this weather, but I am a big fan of the Ohio State football, basketball. I really like this basketball team. I hope you guys are planning on watching them play on Thursday night. You can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. We're out of here on this Tuesday. A few more days left in the week. We're going to talk about some coaching stuff and the transfer portal. There are already a couple Buckeyes in the portal when it opened on Monday. I anticipate more players entering said portal when we come back for tomorrow's show.